Okay, here we are, finishing up the second week here out at Hidden Creek. A little update with the paint job. Things are finally starting to feel like they're moving along at a nice pace. There's actually something I feel like I can show you, because up to this point there's been a lot of repairs, which I'm going to point out now. All these door frames have been mudded and recovered from a pretty poor state. There's a lot of tricky repairs here, nothing real major, but a lot of things like in these corners, and especially in the dining room. Pretty much all the corners that would be the corner where the drywalls meet, and also corners here, all those major corners had to be repaired because the seams were split pulling up and tape was either coming off or just needed to be repaired. A lot of stuff just real rough. A lot of corners like this, you know, with wallpaper. Moisture gets behind there. A lot of stuff gets neglected. It's easy to do when you're putting up wallpaper because, you know, it's just stuff you don't see. So as the paper comes down, the walls are in reasonable shape. A few pretty serious repairs, just over a large area that required multiple applications. And again, we have corners here where this is actually lower than this. They did a good job. They mudded in these edges where the paper meets, which is nice because when the paper goes over, you don't see a seam. Unfortunately, when you pull it off, you're left with a pretty big mess. I would say this would probably be the best representation of all the corners that we've seen. Just as the paper comes off, this just kind of crumbles and falls apart. So real lot of funky repairs. Big repair from here to here, and actually this is the first view we get of some painted walls, and it's turned out pretty good, especially since there were so many repairs. Anywhere where the wallpaper has met up, where this used to be papered, and there were mudded seams or there was anything goofy, like stuff like this still has to be hit. Now that I've got a coat up, I'm gonna have to go back over, I'm gonna have to make repairs to areas that there just was so much busyness on the walls with marks and paste and everything. A lot of the repairs, I found as many as I could, but you just can't find them all. The piece up here, there was a whole huge 2-foot by 2-foot piece of drywall that was patched in around these two outlets here. So there was a very large repair where I had to basically build up and bridge into some pretty nasty seams where the drywall was patched in. Also from about here to about there on that wall, and from about there to about there on that wall. This corner from the railing all the way to the ceiling on both sides. This corner, all these corners had to be rebuilt in around the bay window on the top here and over here. This entire corner had pulled itself out, had to be retaped, mudded in. That was a very big job. And then just 100 little speckled patches of nastiness that got taken care of. But I'm very pleased with how it turned out. The ceiling turned out very nice. The medallion around the light was a big trick, trying to get painted, trying to get caulked, and trying to get it to take the paint. There were some very strange stains that kept popping their face through, so had to get out some special primer, but everything turned out very nice. Again, I have a few more repairs to make and another coat, but all in all, it's really turned out very nice. I think once you're here in person, you're gonna see it's very nice. The foyer, the lower stairwell, this entryway, and then the lower area obviously in the kitchen still need to be done, but I've been working on them as I've been back and forth with the upper stairwell, the upper hall, and the dining room. I've come back into these areas. I've been working on removing wallpaper. I'm actually just starting to clean up now. from some of the disaster that was left behind. Let's see, and then we'll kind of see as we go through. I mean, it's tough to tell. There's not a lot of good lighting, but you can see how rough these walls are. They're actually in better shape than the dining room walls were, but this is everything that was behind the drywall, and there's just real lot of relatively large dings and a lot of scrapes. All these scrapes are recessed and need to be patched and filled in. A lot of patching that was done prior to the wallpaper being hung needs to be repatched. None of these are my patches. These are all original patches from before. And it's kind of a disaster down here. This area is not an area that I came and worked on at all up until recently, now that the dining room and the upper stairwell and hall are dealt with. So yeah, it's a lot of repairs, a lot of cleaning. There's been, as I said in my email, there's been 3 gallons of mud I've gone through in the dining room, the stairwell, and the upper hall. So and then in here also, and this is a good example of an area the ceiling's done. I wanted to get painting in here today. This is a repair, a very large repair that I didn't see until I was right up there. So it's gonna need, you know, overnight to dry, and then I'll sand, and then because it's kind of deep, it might have to be repatched, and then I'll work on something else, come back and do it again. So a couple things just in, you know, you pick up on as you're going through these nasty areas that you have to deal with. And it's a lot of work, and it's coming along, and I want it to look good. So I'll keep working hard, and by the time it's done, it's really gonna look pretty good, I think. And so that's it. That's the update for Hidden Creek. I'm getting ready to call it a week here. I'll be back for a few hours this weekend to work on a couple of patches, a couple of repairs that I want to give some time to dry. Then I'll be here for another long 50-60 hour week next week to try and finish up, and that's the update. So have a great weekend.